All right, this resident preacher, come check us out reading chapter 15 and 16 of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 15 and 16.
Well, I'll never forget this. That old boy preached on hell for about 45 minutes. Oh, my. He cried and preached on hell like he believed folks really went there. Amen. And listen, when he gave that invitation, he started preaching about the cross on the road to hell and told me I didn't have to go there. That Jesus shed his blood to keep sinners out of hell. And that stuck in my mind. That stuck in my mind.
Another verse of an invitation song. The message, it was loud and long. A million thoughts raced through his head, but he just can't shake what the preacher said. He remembers the time before, got up and ran out the door. He wonders now what he should do. His sweaty hands grip the back of the pew. His heart is pounding deep inside, and he wishes he could run and hide, but he hears a voice say, "Come and pray." Just made Jesus his choice, and nothing compares to the way that it feels to know a risen Savior and the love he reveals. To know a risen Savior and the love he reveals.
Listen, friend, I heard about that. The third verse, just as I am. I slid under that altar.
On his knees with tears streaming down his face. He's just been saved by amazing grace. He stands and says as he looks around, I once was lost, but now I'm found. He sees everything from a different view. Inside he feels brand new, as brothers and sisters shake his hand. Angels celebrating glory land. His brand new life had just begun, and he'd grow stronger in days to come. But he never dreamed there would come a day when he'd preach God's word and say, nothing makes heaven's angels rejoice like a sinner who's just made Jesus his choice, and nothing compares to the way that it feels to know a risen Savior and the love he reveals. To know a risen Savior and the love he reveals. Another verse of an invitation song. The message, it was loud and long. A million thoughts raced through his head, but he just can't shake what the preacher said.
And there at that altar, this is what I said. I said, God, I know I'm a sinner. I know I'm going to hell, just like that preacher said. But Lord, I don't want to go. I said, God, he said, that preacher said, that your blood would save me. I said, God, if I go to hell, I'll go trusting in the
All right, this is Resident Preacher. We've been reading through the book of Deuteronomy. We are, this is the fifth book in the Pentateuch, which is the first five books of the Bible, the books of Moses, as they are called. Through Deuteronomy, we've been doing a lot of recapping about the other, what he has already told the Israelites. But he actually told their fathers, and now their kids are the ones that are being told, because they're getting ready to go into the promised land over Jordan. So that's what's going on here. They've recapped the commandments, the laws. He's just going over everything, how to split the land up, what the Levites get, because they weren't promised any inheritance of the land, but each tribe gives them some. The cities of refuge, all of those things. He's just setting up everything to go into the promised land. And also, when you get to the promised land, what they're supposed to do with the people in the promised land, because he set aside all of these laws and all of these statutes and all of these commandments so that his people would stay clean, and so they would stay healthy. And it even tells you exactly why in his verbiage through these books. And if they go over into the land of Canaan, where they are worshiping other idols and they are doing fornicating and doing all of those kinds of things that they're not supposed to be doing in God's eyes, then it's going to corrupt his people. So he's saying how you need to push those people out and take over that land. So we are in chapter 15 of Deuteronomy, and we're just going to dive right in. At the end of every 7 years thou shalt make a release, and this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto the neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release. Of a foreigner thou mayest exact it again, but that which is thine with thy brother thine hand shall release. Save when there shall be no poor among you, for the Lord shall greatly bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it. Only if thou carefully hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all these commandments which I command thee this day. For the Lord thy God bless thee as he promised thee, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, but thou shalt not borrow, and thou shalt not reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over thee. If there be among you a poor man of one of thy brethren within any of thy gates in thy city which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thine heart, nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother, but thou shalt open thine hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need in that which he wanteth. Beware that there be not a thought in thy wicked heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release, is at hand, and thine eye be evil against thy poor brother, and thou givest him not, and he cry unto the Lord against thee, and it be sin unto thee. Thou shalt surely give him, and thine heart shall be grieved when thou givest unto him, because that for this thing the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thy works, and in all that thou puttest thine hand unto. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thine hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor, and to thy needy in the land. And if thy brother, an Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress, of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeemed thee. Therefore I command thee this thing today. And it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee and thine house, because he is well with thee, Then thou shalt take an awl, and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. And also unto thy maidservant thou shalt do likewise. It shall not seem hard unto thee, when thou sendest him away free from thee, for he hath been worth a double hired servant to thee, in serving thee 6 years, and the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all that thou doest. All the firstling males that come of thy herd and of thy flock thou shalt sanctify unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work within the firstling of thy bullock, nor shear the firstling of thy sheep. Thou shalt eat it before the Lord thy God year by year in the place which the Lord shall choose, thou and thy household. And if there be any blemish therein, as if it be lame or blind, or have any ill blemish, thou shalt not sacrifice it unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt eat it within thy gates. The unclean and the clean person shall eat it alike, as the roebuck and as the hart. Only thou shalt not eat the blood thereof. Thou shalt pour it upon the ground as water. Okay, so that was chapter 15, and like I said, it's just going through more of the laws, more of the laws, more of the laws. It is interesting, though, that if their servants decide to stay with them, they take an awl and they jam it in their ear, so they have an earring, so then they're pierced, which means that they belong to that person. Something to think about. Chapter 16, if I do this a lot or if I'm drinking, it's like 80 degrees in here, so I appreciate your patience. And we'll just keep on keeping on. Chapter 16. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto the Lord thy God of the flocks and the herd in the place which the Lord shall choose to place his name there. Thou shalt eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction, for thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that thou mayest remember the day when thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt all the days of thy life. And there shall be no leavened bread seen with thee in all thy coast 7 days, neither shall there anything of the flesh which thou sacrificest the first day of the even remain all night until the morning. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, but as the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name in. There thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. And thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And thou shalt turn in the morning and go unto thy tent. 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work therein. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginning to put the sickle to the corn, harvest time. Verse 10, and thou shalt keep the feast of weeks unto the Lord thy God with the tribute of the freewill offering of thine hand, which thou shalt give unto the Lord thy God, according as the Lord thy God hath blessed thee. And thou shalt rejoice before the Lord thy God, thou and thy son and thy daughter and thy manservants and thy maidservants and the Levite that is within thy gates, and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow that are among you, in the place which the Lord thy God hath chosen to place his name there. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt, and thou shalt observe and do these statutes. Thou shalt observe the feast of tabernacles 7 days, that after that thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine. And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son, and thy daughter, and thy maidservants, and thy manservants, and thy maidservants, and the Levite, the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow that are within thy gates. 7 days shalt thou keep a solemn feast unto the Lord thy God in the place which the Lord shall choose, because the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thine increase and in all the works of thy hands. Therefore thou shalt surely rejoice. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee. Judges and officers shalt thou make thee in all thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, throughout thy tribes, and they shall judge the people with just judgment. Thou shalt not wrest judgment, thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift, for a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise, and pervert the words of the righteous. That which is altogether just shalt thou follow, that thou mayest live, and inherit the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not plant thee a grove of any trees near unto the altar of the Lord thy God, which thou shalt make thee. Neither shalt thou set thee up any graven or any images which the Lord thy God hateth. All right, so that was chapter 15 and 16. And there's always some good little nuggets in here that obviously apply today, just as they did then, even though this was so far back and he was talking to a specific people then. But even about these gifts that probably can't find it. Thou shalt not wrest judgment, and thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift, for a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise and pervert the words of the righteous. That is something that we could live by today. Don't be blind when people are just giving you stuff just to get stuff in the long run, and pervert the words of righteousness. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to get a drink, and then we will dive right back into chapter 17. All right, we're just going to do a quick one. We're going to get right back into it. So, chapter 17. Thou shalt not sacrifice unto the Lord thy God any bullock, any sheep wherein is blemish. And can I just take a second and say there's a reason why the sacrifices have to be without blemish and pure and all of those words, because it is a picture. Those sacrifices are a picture of Jesus Christ, who had no blemishes, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we're going to start with chapter 17, verse 1. Thou shalt not sacrifice unto the Lord thy God any bullock or sheep wherein is blemish, or any evil favoredness, for that is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. If there be found among you within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman, that hath wrought wickedness in the sight of the Lord thy God, in transgressing his covenant, and hath gone and served other gods and worshipped them, either the sun or moon, sun S-U-N, or moon, or any of the hosts of heaven, which I have not commanded, and it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true, and the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought in Israel. Then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman which have committed that wicked thing unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and shalt stone them with stones till they die. At the mouth of two witnesses or three witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. But at the mouth of one witness he shall not be put to death. The hands of the witnesses shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people. So thou shalt put the evil away from among you. If there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, and between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then shalt thou arise and get thee up into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And thou shalt come unto the priests, the Levites, and unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire, and they shall show thee the sentence of judgment. And thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that people, which they of that place which the Lord shall choose shall shew thee, and thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee. According to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do, and shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee, to the right hand nor to the left. And the man that will do presumptuously, and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister there before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die, and thou shalt put away the evil from Israel. And all the people shall hear and fear, and do no more presumptuously. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book, out of that which is before the priests of the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of the law and these statutes, to do them. That this heart be not lifted up above his brethren, and that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children, and in the midst of Israel. Okay, so one thing I noticed in there is it's basically, it sounds like the same systems that we use today in keeping the law, with the judges and the sentencing and so on and so forth. I thought that was unique. So they were doing this that long ago, and we still follow that same example to this day. And then also I noticed in here about thou shalt only have one wife, and so on and so forth, because a lot of people get hung up on, well, in the Old Testament they had many wives and all that. Well, right here he's telling the Israelites, who are the chosen people, or so would be our modern day Christians, if you're using that as an example, that we should only have one wife. I just thought that interesting. So now we will dive right into 18. The priests, the Levites, and all the tribe of Levi shall have no part nor inheritance with Israel. They shall eat the offering of the Lord made by fire, and his inheritance. Therefore shall they have no inheritance among their brethren. The Lord is their inheritance, as he has said unto them. And this shall be the priest's due from the people, from them that offer a sacrifice, whether it be ox or sheep. And they shall give unto the priest the shoulder, and the 2 cheeks, and the maw. The first fruit also of thy corn, of thy wine, and of thine oil, and the first of the fleece of thy sheep shalt thou give him. For the Lord thy God hath chosen him out of all thy tribes to stand and minister in the name of the Lord, him and his sons forever. And if a Levite come from any of those gates out of all Israel, where he sojourned, and come with all the desire of his mind unto the place which the Lord shall choose, then he shall minister in the name of the Lord his God, as all his brethren the Levites do, which stand there before the Lord. They shall have like portions to eat, beside that which cometh of the sale of his Petrami. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abomination of those nations. There shall not be found among you any of that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or thus useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. For these nations which thou shalt possess hearken unto observes of time, and unto divers. But as for thee, the Lord thy God hath not suffered thee so to do. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken. Okay, talking about Jesus there. Verse 16, according to all that thou desirest of the Lord thy God in Horeb, in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my God, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I die not. And the Lord said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass, that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. And if thou say in thine heart, how shall we know the word which the Lord hath not spoken? When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken, but the prophet hath spoken it presumptuously, thou shalt not be afraid of him. It's very important. Okay. So that was chapter 17 and 18. And we've only been here for about 27 minutes. We are going to go into chapter 19. I want to look again how many chapters are in Deuteronomy. There is 34. So what is that? That is 15 is 30, 16 is... So that's 17 chapters. So we is the middle point. So we are past half. So that's awesome. We've been just reading Deuteronomy, I think, for 3 days? And we're already halfway through it. That's awesome. And I really have enjoyed sticking with it and reading chapter after chapter after chapter, because it makes more sense in my head and I don't have to rethink everything again. So I hope you're enjoying this. I hope that you're listening, or if you can follow along, that's great. But if you can't follow along and you just want to play it in the background, that's great too. If you're just stopping by and thinking, oh man, I've already missed all those books of the Bible, they are in the archives here. They're also over in YouTube under Resident Preacher, and you can power through them. When I first started, I was only doing like 20 minutes a pop, so it would be easy to catch up to us. And then that way you can say you've read through the Bible, which is more than most Christians can say. And when people talk about the Bible, a lot of those people that speak it haven't read it. And you have to read it to understand it and to get that closeness to God, because you need to understand him. Just like your spouse, you need to spend time with them, and you need to, for lack of a better word, learn them, see what, get that relationship with them and that bond with them. Well, it's the same thing with the Lord. You got to read about him and spend time with him, and the closer you get to him, the closer he gets to you. So it's a beautiful thing. We are going to dive right back into chapter 19. When the Lord thy God hath cut off the nations, whose land the Lord thy God giveth thee, and thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their cities and in their houses, thou shalt separate 3 cities for thee in the midst of thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess it. Thou shalt prepare thee a way, and divide the coast of thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee to inherit, into 3 parts. that every slayer may flee thither. So he's talking about the promises now. And now he's getting into the separation of the land. And this is the case of the slayer, which shall flee thither, or murder, or however you want to say that, that he may live. Whoso killeth his neighbor ignorantly, whom he hated not in times past, accidentally. That's my word. Verse 5, as when a man goeth into... Can I stop for a second? What is that? Does that keep blinking over on your guys' side? My screen keeps blinking, and I don't know if it's me or if you guys can see it. I'm not really sure. I'm sure that it's just fine, so we will just keep on. So, verse 5, as when a man goeth into the wood with his neighbor to hew wood, and his hand fetcheth a stroke with the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slippeth from the helve, and lighteth upon his neighbor, that he die, he shall flee into one of those cities and live. So what he's talking about, if it accidentally happens, if he's swinging an axe and the head of the axe comes flying off, the big massive metal part, hits some dude, they die. Obviously he didn't mean to kill him, but he needs to go to this city so people don't think, oh, he tried to kill him, or they'll just kill him because he killed somebody else. So they go to these cities, and I'm sure it's going to explain this, but I always jump ahead. They go to these cities, and then they do that judgment that they were talking about. They go before a judge and so on and so forth. So verse 6, lest the avenger of the blood pursue the slayer while his heart... See, they're telling you right now. While his heart is hot, and overtake him because the way is long, and slay him, whereas he was not worthy of death, insomuch as he hated him not in time past. He didn't hate the guy. Verse 7, wherefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt separate these cities for thee. And if the Lord thy God enlarge thy coast, as he hath sworn unto thy fathers, and give thee all the land which he promised to give unto thy fathers, if thou shalt keep all these commandments to do them, which I command thee this day, to love the Lord thy God, and to walk ever in his ways, then shalt thou add 3 cities more for thee beside these 3. This innocent blood be not shed in thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance, and so blood be upon thee. But if any man hate his neighbor, and lie in wait for him, and rise up against him, and smite him mortally, that die, and fleeth into one of these cities, then the elder of his city shall send and fetch him thence, and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, and he may die. Thine eye shall not pity him, but thou shalt put away the guilt of innocent blood from Israel, that it may go well with thee. Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in the land that the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess it. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity, or for any sin, in any sin that he sinneth, at the mouth of 2 witnesses, or at the mouth of 3 witnesses shall the matter be established. If a false witness rise up against any man to testify against him that which is wrong, then both the men between whom the controversy is shall stand before the Lord, before the priest and the judges, which shall be in those days. And the judges shall make diligent inquisition, and behold, if the witness be a false witness, and hath testified falsely against his brother, then shall ye do unto him as he had thought to have done unto his brother. So shalt thou put the evil away from among you. And those which remain shall hear and fear, and shall henceforth commit no more any such evil among you. And thine eye shall not pity, but life shall go for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. All right, so that was chapter 19. I'll move some things around here. Just 1 second, bear with me. Cleaning my screen up real quick. Awesome. Okay. So let's dive into chapter 20. Then thou goest out to battle against thine enemies, and seest horses and chariots, and a people more than thought. Be not afraid of them, for the Lord thy God is with thee, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And it shall be, when ye are come nigh unto the battle, that the priest shall approach and speak unto the people, and shall say unto them, Hear, O Israel, ye approach this day unto battle against your enemies. Let not your hearts faint, fear not, and do not tremble, neither be terrified because of them. For the Lord your God is he that goeth with you, to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. And the officers shall speak unto the people, saying, What man is there that hath built a new house, and hath not dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man dedicate it. And what man is he that hath planted a vineyard, and hath not yet eaten of it? Let him also go and return into his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man eat of it. And what man is there that hath betrothed the wife, and hath not taken her? Let him go and return unto his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man take her. And the officers shall speak further. So we're talking about going into battle, and we're talking about military laws here. Verse 8, And the officers shall speak further unto the people, and they shall say, What man is there that is fearful and faint-hearted? Let him go and return into his house, lest his brethren's heart faint as well as his heart. And it shall be, when the officers have made an end of speaking unto the people, that they shall take captains of the enemies of the armies to lead the people. When thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it. And it shall be, if it make thee answer of peace, and open unto thee, then it shall be that all of the people that is found therein shall be tributaries unto thee, and they shall serve thee. And if it will make no peace with thee, but will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it. And when the Lord thy God hath delivered it unto thine hands, thou shalt smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword. But the woman and the little ones and the cattle and all that is in the city, even all the spoil thereof, shalt thou take unto thyself, and thou shalt eat the spoil of thine enemies, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. Thus shalt thou do unto all the cities which are very far off from thee, which are not of the cities of these nations, but of the cities of these people, which the Lord thy God doth give thee for an inheritance. Thou shalt save alive nothing that breatheth, but thou shalt utterly destroy them, namely the Hittites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites, the Hivites and the Jebusites, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that they teach you not to do after all their abominations which they have done unto their gods. So should ye sin against the Lord your God. When thou shalt besiege a city a long time, in making war against it to take it, thou shalt not destroy the trees thereof by forcing an axe against them, for thou mayest eat of them, and thou shalt not cut them down, for the tree of the field is man's life, to employ thee in the siege. Only the trees which thou knowest that they be not trees for meat, thou shalt destroy and cut them down, and thou shalt build bulwarks against the city that maketh war with thee until it be subdued. All right, that was chapter 20, talking about military laws, what to do with the cities and what to do differently with the cities that they've been giving with, as opposed to the cities that are outside the borders that they were given. So, and you'll get used to this, and there's an app for a dictionary if you got like a word you want to pop into and see what it means. But like when it says, let's see here, when they say the meat on the tree, well, that's the fruit, because they call the fruit the meat, the food, the substance. So that's what they're talking about there. And just little things like that. The Bible says, study to show thyself approved. So it doesn't just like blah and lay it out and for you to be lazy about it. Sometimes you have to look upward. Sometimes you have to look at other verses to see where it's used in other places. Don't just take one verse and pull it out and live by it and build standards or whatever you want to call it on that verse. Read around that verse to make sure that it's saying the same thing. Just food for thought. So let's go chapter 21. See, it just did that. It just blinked. It's freaking me out. Okay, chapter 21. If one be found slain in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess it, lying in the field, and it be not known whom has slain him, then thy elders and thy judges shall come forth, and they shall measure unto the cities which are round about him that is slain. And it shall be that the city which is next unto the slain man, even the elders of that city shall take a heifer, which hath not been wrought with, and which hath not drawn in the yoke. And the elders of that city shall bring down the heifer unto a rough valley, which is neither eared nor sown, and shall strike off the heifer's neck there in the valley. And the priests and the sons of the Levi shall come near, for them the Lord thy God hath chosen to minister unto him, and to bless in the name of the Lord. And by their word shall every controversy and every stroke be tried. And all the elders of that city that are next unto the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer that is beheaded in the valley. And they shall answer and say, Our hands have not shed this blood, neither have any eyes seen it. Be merciful, O Lord, unto thy people Israel, whom hast redeemed, and lay not innocent blood unto the people of Israel's charge, and the blood shall be forgiven them. So shalt thou put away the guilt of innocent blood from among you, when thou shalt do that which is right in the sight of the Lord. When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thine hand, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and has a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife, then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whither she will, but thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. If a man have two wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, then it shall be, when he maketh the son to inherit that which he hath, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated, which is indeed the firstborn. But he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn, by giving him a double portion of all that he hath, for he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they have chastened him will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay a hold on him, and bring him out unto the elders of the city, of his city, and unto the gate of his place. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, This our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of that city shall stone him with stones, that he die. So shalt thou put evil away from among you, and all Israel shall hear in fear. And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be to be put to death, and thou shalt hang on a tree, his body shall not remain on all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is accursed of God, that thy land be not defiled, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. Chapter 20. Well, let's hit that. All right, that's pretty heavy stuff. So chapter 22. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself. Can I just say this real quick before we jump ahead? It is very heavy stuff, and that's how serious it is, and that's the whole point here of the seriousness of it, and I hope you understand that. So Deuteronomy chapter 22 is where we are now, and we are going to continue. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt in any case bring them again unto thy brother. And if thy brother be not nigh unto thee, or if thou know him not, then thou shalt bring it unto thine own house, and it shall be with thee until thy brother seek after it, and thou shalt restore it to him again. In like manner shalt thou do with his ass, and so shalt thou do with his raiment, and with all lost thing of thy brother's which he hath lost, and thou shalt and hast found, shalt thou do likewise. Thou mayest not hide thyself. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ass or his ox fall down by the way, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt surely help him to lift them up again. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God. Verse 6, if a bird's nest chance to be before thee in the way in any tree or on the ground, whether they be young ones or eggs, and the dam sitting upon the young or upon the eggs, thou shalt not take the dam with the young. But thou shalt in any wise let the dam go, and take the young to thee, that it may be well with thee, and that thou mayest prolong thy days. When thou buildest a new house, then thou shalt make a battlement for thy roof, and thou bring not blood upon thine house, if any man fall from thence. Thou shalt not sow thy vineyard with divers seed, lest the fruit of thy seed which thou hast sown and the fruit of thy vineyard be defiled. Thou shalt not plow with an ox and an ass together. Thou shalt not wear a garment of divers sorts, as of woolen and linen together. Thou shalt make thee fringes upon the four quarters of thy vestures, wherewith thou coverest thyself. If any man take a wife, and go in unto her, and hate her, and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid, or virgin. Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elder, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hateth her. And lo, he hath given occasion of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. And the elders of that city shall take the man and chastise him. And they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he hath brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel. And she shall be his wife. He may not put her away all his days. But if this thing be true, and the token of virginity be not found for the damsel, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones, that she die, because she has wrought folly in Israel, to play the whore in her father's house. So shalt thou put evil away from among you. If a man be found lying with a woman married to a husband, then they shall both of them die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So shalt thou put away evil from Israel. If a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto an husband, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, then ye shall bring them both out unto the gate of that city, and ye shall stone them with stones, that they die. The damsel because she cried not, being in the city, and the man because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife. So thou shalt put away evil from among you. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lie with her shall die. But unto the damsel that shall do nothing, there is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man riseth against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. A man shall not take his father's wife, nor discover his father's skirt. Okay, so that was a lot of input. I mean, they were talking about, in these last chapters of Deuteronomy, they covered a lot of the laws for sin when it comes to man and woman, because when it's about being a man and what to wear, being a woman and what to wear, how they're not supposed to wear the same things, about if a woman is a virgin, and I'm not going to get into all of the, what did they call it? The cloth that they were talking about of virginity. Because it's basically, they would have a cloth because the first time that you're with a person and a female, there's stuff there, and I'm trying to be as PC as possible. And so that's what they're talking about there. And the tokens are for virginity is what they're calling it, or what the Bible calls it. And so that's what's going on all there. But that is, you could read over that over and over and over again, and you could sit and preach on that. And you could make a lot of people mad over that, these verses, because they're very controversial. But here again, if I sat and got into those and dug into them, we would be there for the rest of the year. So we are going to stop there. Deuteronomy chapter, we're going to read a couple more chapters. It's not quite an hour yet, so we're going to keep on going there. Sometimes it's really hard just to continue because there was so much in there that could be looked at and studied, and chapters like that are very popular for people to say, oh, well, those don't matter. That's Old Testament, and we're not under the laws anymore and that kind of stuff. But a lot of it is still common sense, purity, because that's what he's trying to keep. He's trying to keep separation so God's people don't become like the world. And yeah, it is really serious. It's so serious that somebody could die from it or die because of it. So does he take that stuff seriously? Absolutely, he takes that stuff seriously. And we've been reading about people getting stoned for doing it, and so on and so forth. So these are very serious matters. And this is God. This is our Father in heaven. So you need to take heed to these words. So we're going to go on to chapter 23 here. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his privy member cut off. Do I have to explain that? I don't think so. Shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. An Amorite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever, because they met you not with bread and with water in the way, when ye came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Balaam the son of Beor of Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse thee. Nevertheless, the Lord thy God would not hearken unto Balaam, But the Lord thy God turned the curse into a blessing unto thee, because the Lord thy God loved thee. Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity all thy days forever. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of the Lord in their third generation. When the host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep thee from every wicked thing. If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness that chanceth him by night, then shall he go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp. But it shall be when evening cometh on, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again. Thou shalt have a place also without the camp, whither thou shalt go forth abroad. And thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon, and it shall be, when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. For the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp, to deliver thee, and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy, that he see no unclean thing in thee, and turn away from thee. Thou shalt not deliver unto his master the servant which is escaped from his master unto thee. He shall dwell with thee, even among you, in that place which he shall choose in one of thy gates. Where it liketh him best, thou shalt not oppress him. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow, for even both these are abominations unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury, unto a stranger that mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to in the land whither thou goest to possess it. When thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy God, thou shalt not slack to pay it, for the Lord thy God shall surely require it of thee, and it would be sin in thee. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee. That which is gone out of thy lips thou shalt keep and perform, even a freewill offering, according as thou hast vowed unto the Lord thy God, which thou hast promised with thy mouth. When thou comest into thy neighbor's vineyard, then thou mayest eat grapes thy fill at thine own pleasure, but thou shalt not put any in thy vessel. When thou comest into the standing corn of thy neighbor, then thou mayest pluck the ears with thine hand, but thou shalt not move a sickle unto thy neighbor's standing corn. All right, so that was the end of chapter 23, and now we are going to go into chapter 24. Just going on about more of the laws, and just being very specific on how to live your life. Chapter 24. When a man hath taken a wife, okay, this is going to be about divorce. So when a man hath taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some unclean in her, then let him write a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and giveth it in her hand, and sendeth her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife, after that she is defiled. For that is an abomination before the Lord, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. When a man hath taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer up his wife which he hath taken. No man shall take the neither or the upper millstone to pledge, for he taketh a man's life to pledge. If a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you. Take heed in the plague of leprosy, that thou observe diligently, and do according to all that the priests the Levites shall teach you, and I command them, so ye shall observe to do. Remember what the Lord thy God did unto Miriam by the way, after that ye were come forth out of Egypt. When thou dost lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. Thou shalt stand abroad, and the man to whom thou dost lend shall bring out the pledge abroad unto thee. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge. In any case, thou shalt deliver him the pledge again when the sun goeth down, that he may sleep in his own raiment, and bless thee, and it shall be righteous unto thee before the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not oppress any hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy stranger that are in thy land within thy gates. At this day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be sin unto thee. The father shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the stranger, nor of the fatherless, nor take a widow's raiment to pledge. But thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeemed thee thence. Therefore I command thee to do this thing. When thou cuttest down thine harvest in thy field, and hast forgotten a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hands. When thou beatest thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. When thou gatherest the grapes of thy vineyard, thou shalt not glean it afterward. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt. Therefore I command thee to do these things. All right. So there at the end, what he was talking about is these people that are needy, when they go out and work their fields, and a lot there's corn left over, or there's grapes left over. They didn't get everything picked to leave it. So these needy people, the fatherless, the stranger, the widow, who don't have a lot, go there and they can glean from that field, take what's left of that field that got left, and they can have it to eat and to provide for their families. So we are now at chapter 25. We are going to stop there. I'm going to find my little marker that I have. Oh, it fell. I'll grab it in a second. So, hey, I appreciate everybody coming. Those really were intense verses to read, and very controversial. Because a lot of those situations pertain to now, what's going on in this world right now. And no, we don't live by those same laws in the way that we're not going to go out and kill somebody. We're not going to go out and stone somebody. But those things still matter to God, and we should still abide by them. So we're going to end it there. And in closing, I just want to say that I appreciate everybody coming and listening. It's a great way to read through the Bible and read it with people. And as a group, I would love to get more followers, more viewers on here, so we could communicate through the chat or whatever, and discuss some of these things. And you all can discuss some of these things between yourselves. But we will just keep on keeping on until that happens. I'm excited that we're reading all the way through the Bible, even though some of it is heavy. It's a heavy matter. God is a heavy matter. It's eternity. Isn't that important? Eternity, where you're going to spend your life in eternity. But listen, you can be assured that if you call upon the name of the Lord and you become a follower of Christ, a Christian, that your eternity and your fate will be sealed in heaven. So there's not like a 1, 2, 3, follow me. There's not like you have to take a test. You don't have to jump through hoops. You don't have to do all of these kind of things. You don't have to be perfect, because that's who he wants. He wants the sinner, because you don't get saved because you are perfect. You get saved so you can become more perfect as a child of God. And John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. God knows your heart. And if he's pulling at your heart and he's telling you you need to get saved, that he wants you to be his child, however he's putting that on you, that pull in your insides, just call upon him. Just talk to him. Reach out. We're all sinners. Just ask him to forgive your sins. You know you've done wrong. We've all done wrong. Just ask him to forgive you for that. Commit your life to him. Romans 10:9, if you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. So just believe that Jesus Christ is who he says he was, that he was born of a virgin, that he is the Son of God, that he died on the cross, that he rose on the third day, that his blood will cover your sins, and that one day he's going to come back for you, and you can live eternity in heaven. So I hope this was encouraging tonight. I hope that you got something out of the reading, and I appreciate everybody. And if you have any comments or questions, if you can't get them in this chat, you can, or comment on Twitch, you can go over to YouTube and you can comment and chat on there. And it's under Resident Preacher, all one word. So everybody have a great night. Again, I appreciate y'all.
On the Isle of Patmos, John began to say, the Spirit, it came on me. It was on the Lord's day, when I heard a voice behind me as a mighty rushing wind. Oh, the voice of God as a trumpet, and these are the words he said, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I am first, I'm last, and I'm the answer for your sin. I am he who died and was buried. I am the one who rose again. John, tell it to the churches. I am. Oh, the backside of the desert, oh, Moses began to pray. When Pharaoh comes asking, Lord, what should I say? To the land of milk and honey, God's children will go away. The am that I am has sent me, so let my people go today. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I am first, I'm last, and I'm the answer for your sin. I am he who died sorrow. I am the lifter of your head. When you're lost in sin, I'm your Savior, and I am your closest friend. So don't worry about nothing.